Hi, I'm Alice Reinhardt, and today I would like to discuss a new client I have who is struggling with their weight. They feel they are gaining weight because they tend to eat out due to a stressful and demanding career that they have within a corporation. They also have two small children, and apparently they keep gaining weight. So, as I look at this, I need more information about my client to understand how the various segments of their life actually fit together. So, based on the information I have, I see they're concerned about gained weight, which could be affected by a poor diet and lack of sleep from having two small children. However, the corporate position, which has been indicated has a high stress, could also be triggering poor habits, including lack of sleep. And the gained weight or the weight gain could be causing stress in the corporate job due to concern of appearance. There could also be stress regarding their family life and whether they believe they are doing an adequate job as a parent. So I've broken my questions down into categories to try to not only get more information, but to also watch for emotional triggers during the discussions and to watch for nonverbals. I want to discover the connections. I also want to separate the worlds to try and determine where they are happy and where they are sad, and if those overlap anywhere. Now, I have a major question, but within that question, I also have several follow up questions. I'm not just going to rapid fire these questions to my client. I'm going to wait for the client to kind of give me the question or the answer to the questions that I'm looking for. And if they don't, then I will follow up with the questions. So I'm going to start with asking what are the goals that my client would have for the sessions and our time together. I want to know what they are hoping to get from our discussions. Now, I'm asking these questions because I also need to understand if the client is just wanting a diet plan and accountability, or if they perceive that their need is greater and it's more than just being overweight. So I'm going to begin with asking the client, tell me about your job. What brought you to the position that you are in? Were you hired in, or did you work your way up the ladder to a leadership position? I'm also curious as to what part of your job do you enjoy the most? So, what brings you that satisfaction within your position? And what are your future career plans? How do you feel when you walk into your workplace? Likewise, what part of your job produces stress? And when you experience that stress, what does it look like or feel like? Uh, Please describe the physical, mental, emotional thoughts or feelings that you have whenever you notice that you're stressed. And what are your ways of managing stress? So I'm hoping to gather some nonverbal clues by these questions as well as verbal answers about the relationship that my client has with their job. I'm looking for enthusiasm or sarcasm or fear or agitation or even their dreams. And I'm trying to pay attention to the nonverbals that accompany each of those words. I'm also looking for the answer to the question, is this job responsible for the stress? So after discussing the job, I want to redirect to talk about the family some. So let's talk about your family life for the moment. Tell me about your children. What do you enjoy doing with your children, and what are your goals within your family? Can you tell me some of your favorite memories that you have so far? And then I'm really curious how they're sleeping and what stages of development are they at? Are they babies who crawl or toddlers who like to get into everything? Are they potty trained or not potty trained? Are they going through terrible twos? Are they climbers? All of those things can trigger various stresses. Um, so I'm just really curious, what are your struggles with your children? And I also want to know if you're getting rest. Um, do either of your children have a medical or a developmental situation that you're also trying to navigate? Are you single parenting or do you have a partner? And what role does your partner play? Are they helpful? Are they distant, supportive, critical? Um, then I'm also curious as to what is your favorite me time? What do you do to just get away from it all? Um, and I'd also like to know, where do you find encouragement in your parenting? And then, shifting gears just a little, I would like to know, I'd like you to compare the stress you have in your job with the stress that you have within your family life. And are there any similarities there? Um, when you're experiencing these two different stresses, do they affect you in the same place? Do they make you feel the same emotions when you're doing that? So my motivation here uh, is the same as the previous question. I'm looking for connection and revelation. I'm also looking for similarities in the stresses and how the client might manage their stress. I want to know if they take time for themselves to recharge, or do they turn to an outside stimulant in an attempt to escape the stress. And if they are turning to a stimulant, I want to know what kind that is, and whether this is a stimulant that could lead to some sort of addiction. So after discussing those two things, I'm really curious about the client. So I'm going to turn my attention to the client now, and I'm going to say, so let's talk about you. What are the things which bring you great joy or delight? And where is your happy place, or what produces your happy place? And then I'm also curious as to how often you engage in these activities, if it's on a regular basis or if it's something that is sporadic. I'd also like to know some things that you really like about yourself. What are the things that you do really well? And when you do them, it makes you feel so proud of yourself. Along with that, I want to know, how do you want to see yourself? And how does that image, how you want to see yourself, fit in with how you see yourself now? And how does that image fit in with the goals that you desire? So, who are you at your best and your greatest strength? And then, what are your first thoughts upon waking up? So, I do want to see who this individual is, but I need to be able to see how they see themselves. And I want to know where they shoot themselves in the foot, or what lies or disguised truths they are telling themselves. Their body may be overweight, and they may be fixated on the overweight body right now, but their soul and spirit may be starving for attention, and may simply be needing attention from themselves. Okay, so at this point, I kind of want to turn the discussion into really diving into their stress. So let's talk about stress. When you mentioned your stress, what do you notice about yourself physically, emotionally, mentally? And when you have stress, what is your normal response or reaction? such as not just where you feel it in your body, but how does it affect the way you speak or interact with others? And I'm also curious for how long you've been experiencing stress and what is the toll that it is taking on you? What do you believe is the primary cause of stress, and who or what would you blame? I'm also very curious if you have ever attempted meditation, and if you have, what was your experience with that? If you hadn't, would you be open to me leading you in that, as maybe equipping you with a tool for the next time you encounter stress? I'd also like to take a moment, if I could, if you don't mind, um, and share something about stress, which I would like your thoughts on after I've shared this with you. Um, Stress and conflict are very similar in something, and that is they each time that they experience conflict or stress, they do not restart at ground zero. They pick up where the last stress or conflict left them off. So, as an example, let's take a married couple, and as they're beginning their married life, and there are little habits and things that they're getting used to with that. Um, let's say one of the partners tends to leave their socks on the floor right next to the laundry basket. And finally this just irritates you, and you kind of have a discussion about it. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'll change that habit. But as is the case in a lot of things, that change doesn't happen right away. And so it goes on, and there's a few more times if you're picking the socks up, and you're just really kind of irritated with it at this point. And so you have another discussion. And this time, that conflict level is no longer at zero. But so let's say it's just moved up to like 1. And you're saying, hey, we talked about this. Do you think you could do a better job? Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better. And so, behaviors change. But then as time goes on, um, it starts happening more and more. And then there are other things that are kind of irritating too. And, you're just, and so this time the discussion doesn't start at zero anymore. It starts where it left off, and it says, we've had this discussion before. I don't know if I need to say it differently or what it is that I'm not communicating, but I really don't appreciate you not putting your socks into the dirty clothes. And so you can see the conflict level rising. And so it's no longer at zero, it's no longer at 1. Now it's hanging out there somewhere, around a 4. And so, again, apologies are made and life goes on. And then you start noticing that your partner isn't just lazy about the socks, and you start thinking all of these other adjectives that are there, but also, oh, look, a bill was forgotten to be paid. And so at that point, this conflict moves from a 4 about up to a 7 or 8. And, tensions are really high, and there's words said, and bad communication, and it's just ugly. However, the very next time that a sock is on the ground, it doesn't go back to here. It doesn't go back to 1. It doesn't even go back to 4. It picks back up at 8. And suddenly you have what I called a Mount Vesuvius explosion. And a great conflict happens out of that over a sock on the floor. Stress is the same way. If it's not dissected when it happens, it stays at whatever level is left. And then the next time that stress is encountered, it starts right there, and it goes up immediately. And I mean, you might notice that, man, this least little stress this time hits those trigger points, and you're immediately tight. And so that's just something that I'd like you to consider and think about as you're dealing with your stress, and maybe that you could come up with some ideas for how to start dismantling that stress before it gets very high up on the chart. So, now in shifting gears, I'm going to make the assumption that my client has determined that weight really is the issue. So the questions I would take from this point on will be focused on that. And they might go something like this. What do you perceive or hope will change when you lose weight? And if you lost all that weight, what specifically would change about your life? How do you envision that your life would look? What are the things you would do once you've lost weight? So in that moment, I'm wanting to call on the hope that they might have about things that they want to do and things that they want to achieve, and perhaps provide them with something to look at that's not a number on a scale. I kind of want to help them to envision the future as the place that they want to head for, not just lower numbers. So then I'd be curious and want to ask questions such as, how long have you struggled with your weight? And what diets have you tried in the past? Where have you failed in your past diets or in your past attempts to lose weight? What do you perceive went wrong? And I'm also curious as to who you see is holding you back, or who or what may be responsible for holding you back. So in those questions, I'm wanting to see if my client will own their choices and own their bad habits that they are already practicing. So from there, I want to take a little bit of a turn and say, and ask questions along this line. What do you want to have happen? And what is keeping you from achieving it? I'm curious what you think the real challenge is. What are you afraid of? I'm also curious as to what you think and what you believe your bad habits are. I also want to know what got you to this point. Can you trace that back to your first time of like maybe remembering that you were frustrated with what you weighed? I also want to ask you a personal question. I want to know if you believe you're worthy of a healthy lifestyle, or if you are worthy of me time or worthy of self-compassion, and I'd like to know why or why not. So here we are, we're discussing your weight, and I want to just kind of throw a little boomerang your way and go back to something that we talked about in the very beginning. And here, as we are talking about your weight and this issue that you have with gaining weight, I want to know if you, I would like you to tell me something true about yourself, something that you can write down right now. So again, these questions are designed, hopefully, to get the client to see what they want, but also what are they doing to keep that from happening. And I want to take this time while they're focused on something they probably hate about themselves, and like I said, do a quick little boomerang back to their worth and their self-compassion, and call forth that true thing that they see about themselves. I want them to see that it's not an either or that they have. So from there, um, I would start bringing this around to a conclusion and suggest to my client, that we make a plan for starting. And so let's begin with practicing some good habits, and let's get them in place, and then we'll tackle the changing of the bad habits and what may be leading to the weight loss or weight gain. So what are some beginning things that you can do right now are positives? So fill in the blank. I can drink more water, get better sleep, mild exercise, meditation. All right? So what one thing can you choose to add to your day? And we want to just start small. Don't get discouraged. We want to start small, because I'd rather you be successful in achieving a step than try to take 100 steps. So we're going to start small, and when we've met that goal, we're going to add to the goal and just keep increasing the positive things that we're doing. So what we want to do, what I would like you to do, is to name one way of celebrating when you do something good, when you form a good habit. So what are you going to choose? I mean, do you need to go out and buy some stickers so that each day you make your change, that you put a sticker on that calendar day? Is there a prominent place that you can make a hash mark? Can you send yourself a gift, a celebrating gift, on social media or to yourself on your phone? Or maybe get a jar and, fill it up with objects each day you successfully meet your goals, such as marbles or tickets or coins, or maybe the candy that you didn't eat, so that you can start seeing that, yes, you do make good choices. So, what we're looking at here is looking for ways to celebrate. And then the other thing is, I want you to have a plan for when you fail. Because here's the thing, we aren't perfect. And we're going to goof up. And so let's just, can we just accept that now? And so then when it happens, you have a plan. What is your plan going to be? I would also just like to encourage you with this. The really important thing is starting. So if you could envision a beautiful, smooth, rolling road. Now, that's my idea of an idyllic road. You may say, no, give me downtown Dallas with all of the interchanges and all of that. But whatever, you have a road that you're on, and you're going to start down this road. And when you mess up, that kind of creates a pothole. And so what I want you to think about is that it's easy to get stuck with that pothole. And instead of realizing, going down a different road, you would have made a different pothole. Potholes are going to happen. Life has potholes. So stop beating yourself up for the potholes, because you've got a whole road that's stretching out in front of you. So don't stay in the pothole and miss out on a lot of life when you do. Just know, starting is so important. And if you hit a pothole, you just get up and you keep on your journey and you keep going. So for the class assignment, you also asked Professor Stevens to be on the lookout for, let me get up to my assignment here, to pick one possible root cause and provide possible strategies to implement or explain why the root cause may require referral. Um, in this in this example that we were given, and you can probably tell by the emphasis that I put on it, the stress level is really what jumps out to me, and it's an area of concern to me. It's an area of concern because stress is very real, and it's also a silent killer. And there's a lot about stress that can end up producing some very bad choices in our life. I mean, the choices that could affect our mental health, not just our physical health, um, but it's the whole interference of stress on our body causes us to believe things that are not true, or it causes us to imagine feelings that are not real. And then we make decisions based on what we're thinking with that. And so I'm more concerned about this person's stress level than I am about any amount of weight they may want to lose. And I mean, I know that's easy for me to say because I don't have a weight problem, but I do deal with stress, and I know how that affects me physically, and I know that that's not necessarily the best road to go down for good mental health, for good emotional health, for good physical health. And so, in the course of this, the things that I have um, that I see as a necessity is not just utilizing meditation, or not just understanding the stress, and not just becoming aware of what it's doing to you physically, but if this stress level has gotten to the point to where um, certain comments are made. uh, I had a friend once that during high stress in her life, and she had plenty of that, she began physically picking at her skin, and she would pick until she would bleed. And so, I mean, it was just, it became a habit that she was not even aware that she was doing. It was a subconscious thing that she would immediately start picking at the scabs on her arms, and that's the power of stress. And so, with this client, I really want to determine whether or not that stress has reached that point. Because if it has reached that point, then she needs something more than what I'm qualified to, or they need something more than what I am qualified to offer and to give. Um, so, yeah, that's what I have. Hope you have a good day. Bye now.